everybody, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're absolutely welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome as well. Thank you so much for your support. So guys, like I said in my previous video, that I would like to introduce a little bit of my personality to this channel, share a bit of the lifestyle with you so that you can know me better and you know a bit of my story. So in this video today, I will be continuing my story from where I stopped in my previous video. If you've not seen that video, I'll be leaving a link either here or here, so kindly check it up and leave me a comment in the comment section. I really like to hear from you. So in this video, I'll be delving more into what settling down was like and how the various cultural shocks I had. In fact, this is the first time I knew what cultural shock was. I never knew there was anything called cultural shock. But there was just so much hitting me in the face all at once. The first cultural shock I had was the food. So in Malaysia, the main household staple you see is rice. In this country, I got to see rice in different dimensions. So to Malaysians, this is like different dishes, but to me, I just felt it is still rice. It is not like a different dish. So it was very interesting for me to see how rice was deliciously served in different and creative ways. They had like gravies. They had like chicken gravies with this rice, beef gravies, fish gravies, and even so many vegetable dishes as side dishes. And you would think that it is just rice, right? But it just gave a different dimension to the different ways of eating rice. So like I said, rice is their main staple. So there was nasi goreng ayam, there's nasi lemak, there's nasi kerabu, there's telur bistik. And telur bistik is one of the dishes I took out of Malaysia. It is a kind of dish where you combine eggs and chicken. So you cut the chicken into small bits and you mix it up with the egg and you deep fry it together and mix it with some veggies like spring onions and all of that. It was one of the dishes that I still do up till now. Telur bistik, very delicious. I really love it. It goes well with rice. They also add lots of gravies they made. So there's chicken gravy, there's beef gravy, there's fish gravy, and even vegetable gravy. So living here in Malaysia, this exposed me more to eating more vegetables, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, and so many types of vegetables that was available. And again, Malaysia is a multi-diverse country, so you have a little bit of the Indian culture, there's a little bit of the Chinese culture, and then the Malay culture. So these cultures also have a way they impacted on the food and influenced the food. So I had so many options to eat from. So the Indian restaurant are known as Mama. Most of the time I also visit this Mama restaurant with my family. There's also the Thai restaurants. Oh my goodness, Thai food they're so delicious. Just thinking about it now brings so much smiles to my face. Thai delicacies are really delicious and sumptuous. So for me, right from the get-go, I didn't really have a problem with the food. I got along with the food quite so well. Even my husband was surprised at how fast I was in adapting when it comes to the food. Right from the next day, I was eating Malaysian food. The other cultural shock I had was with the seasoning, the local seasoning there, like the Maggi and the Knorr. It was a very different taste from the taste I was used to coming from Nigeria. So the Maggi and the Knorr in Malaysia is very different from the Maggi and Knorr from Nigeria. So there's a special place in KL where we go to buy like local foods. It's called, I think it's called Punchong and Cheras area. Those are where you get like local foods from your country. It's a big market. You get to buy pomo, ogbono, egusi, so many foods to buy, dried fish. So we always go there once we have like little ringgits to spare, because it was very pricey. So once in a while I go there with my family to buy like food stuff and buy little things like that. It was very expensive, but it was just a once in a while thing. And while I was pregnant with my first child, like I was always craving like my local food. So that was how I got over my pregnancy phase in relation with food. But pretty much I would say Malaysian dishes are dishes that I enjoy. Like I really love the combinations and how rich and balanced the food was. Like it was really good, and up to now that is one of the things I miss in Malaysia. Another cultural shock I had in Malaysia was the clothing. Now coming to Malaysia, I saw a different version of what a modest Muslimah dressing can be like. you know, and that was where I learned how to tie my various veils with different styles. You know, I had friends that taught me, and I went online also to learn. I really like the Malaysian style of tying their veils. It's always very nice and elegant and beautiful. And they also had a modest way of dressing that was, you know, very fascinating to me. I learned a lot. I really learned a lot in terms of modest dressing and how to, you know, be fashionable and still be very, very chic and look fabulous and still be elegant and beautiful. Another thing that surprised me when it comes to dressing in Malaysia was the fact that their men tie wrapper, and it was just fascinating and interesting to see a different way of doing things to the way you're used to, you know. Yeah, so that was a cultural shock I had. So another cultural shock I had while I was in Malaysia was the safe face culture. So in Malaysia, there's this safe face culture where people are not like confrontatory or argumentative. They just let things slide. So for example, if you were to ask somebody something and the right answer would be negative, the person might just be vague and not give a direct answer to what you're asking, just so that you have a very cordial relationship, so just so that, you know, you're not embarrassed or you feel bad, something like that. So they have a very really nice personality when it comes to that, and I learned how to, like, you know, overlook things and just let things slide, sort of like life is not hard, you know, that kind of thing. Like, they really really take life simple, you know. Not everything has to result into fighting or being argumentative or, you know, necessarily just bashing one another. That was another cultural shock I had. Like, it was a really nice habit I picked from living in Malaysia. Another cultural shock is Malaysians do not cook. Like, home cooking is like a once in a while thing, maybe when there's a special occasion or there's like Eid or there's, you know, celebration and all of that. That is when they have like a home cooking. So majorly families go out to dine, and they go out for their lunch, for their breakfast and for their dinners. Like early in the morning, Malaysians would wake up and go to the restaurant for everybody as a family, mother, father, children would go to the restaurant and have their breakfast, and also sometimes lunch, and most of the time most likely dinner as well. But I was surprised and fascinated about it. Like, nobody's stressing out in the kitchen, everybody's just going out to get fed, you know, and you eat whatever it is you want to eat. So, but they can choose to have a dish as a family, like have the same thing and all of that. But what you would most likely see is they dine out, they don't cook, they don't do home cooking most of the time. Like, home cooking is not something they do all of the time. Yeah, so that was one thing that fascinated me again. So another cultural shock I got slammed with, that I was gobsmacked by, is how food is very ridiculously cheap in Malaysia. Like, food is ridiculously cheap. Like, with 5 ringgit you can have a whole meal. Yeah, with just 5 ringgit. So another cultural shock I had while living in Malaysia, and this was really funny for me, like even up till I left, I was always just amazed by it. So there's a way Malaysians talk, and it has to be, if you want to communicate with them and you're not using the right pitch, or you're not saying it the exact way they would say it, they may likely not get what you're talking about. So for example, you want to say internet, the way Malaysians will say internet, they'll probably say internet. So if you're saying internet, they won't hear you say internet. What they want to hear you say is internet. If you're not saying it that way they say it, they won't get what you're saying. Like, you just keep on going back and forth, and just be like, what are you saying? Yeah, what? And you just keep going back and forth. Like, what are you trying to say?